Okay, so I'm going to look at the t-test, and the t-test measures agility. So we're looking at lateral movement and running and changing direction at speed. Okay, so I'll just talk to you about how the test is set up. So we can see that there's 10 meters along here, 5 meters between this cone and this cone, 5 meters between this cone. What the athlete has to do is start from here, and they'll run along here. They'll then run laterally to the side, put their hand down, touch the cone, run back to the middle, touch the cone, run out to the side, hand down, touch the cone, come back to the middle, touch the cone, and then they'll run backwards to the beginning point. Now, how it's measured. What you'll have is someone with a stopwatch. They'll say go, they'll start the stopwatch. Obviously the athlete will complete the sequence that I've just shown you. And then when they return to the finish line, the stopwatch will stop. That will give them their time for their test. So if we think about validity and reliability in relation to this test, how valid is it? Well, yes, it is testing the ability to change direction at speed, because obviously we're running out, we're running as quick as we can, we're moving to the side, we're running forward, we're running backwards. However, it might not test. The issue is that our movement patterns might not always be replicated like that in certain sports. So there might be an issue with the validity of it. However, I'd say that actually the test is quite valid for what it's trying to do, the purpose of what it's trying to do. In terms of reliability, we've got a number of factors. Okay, so one of the factors might be that if the person on the stopwatch hasn't started the stopwatch at the right time when Batman leaves the starting point, then we've already got an issue with reliability in terms of the result we're going to get. Okay, it might be that actually if we get Batman returning, they don't stop the stopwatch on time when he returns, we'll also get a reliability issue. The other factor is are the cones accurately measured out apart apart? So are they definitely 5 meters and 10 meters? Because if they're not, then there would be a significant issue with the measurements there. We also need to consider the surface. Okay, so are we using a consistent surface? So for instance, this test is best done on a kind of a sports hall floor. And if we're doing it with 100 participants, is the test consistently the same and the surface is consistently the same for each of those participants to make sure we get reliable results? Because if we do it on 3G, we know that that surface is slightly more difficult to turn because of the rubber crumb. Okay, the other things we need to talk about are the cost. So how expensive is it to set up this? Well, actually it's pretty inexpensive, and the reason being is that we only need a few cones. We actually need 4 cones. We need a tape measure to be able to measure out the distance, and just a stopwatch, so really inexpensive to do. Again, the equipment is limited. We only need cones, tape measure and a stopwatch, so it's reasonably easy to do. Now actually the facility requirements, we could do it out on a field, so we could do it anywhere really that's accessible. However, if we want to do it properly, we probably need to do it in a setting where, obviously if you're doing football, then a setting on a football pitch is relevant to the conditions. But if we're doing basketball, for instance, we might need an indoor sports facility, which means that we would need some bookings, and there would be cost implications with that, as well as having to book the facilities itself. We do need to think about the person and the level of person who's carrying out the test. Are they coherent? Do they know exactly what the test is, how it functions? Do they know how to make sure that they record the data accurately so that the test is carried out accurately? So we need somebody who's competent in delivering it, and actually somebody who's competent in making the decision of the surface. So if it's a football coach, they know that they should be doing this test and replicating on a football setting. And that's really what you need to cover. So every time it's cost, equipment, facilities, the skill level of the person carrying out the test, validity issues, which we've talked about, reliability issues, which we've talked about, and the only other thing is time. And actually this is pretty depending on how many people you've got. To just do one of these tests, it doesn't take a lot of time to carry out. However, if you had a multitude of people carrying out the test, then yes, it could take a substantial amount of time.